We're already excited about this Auburn football freshman class, but they seem to be doing everything right in hitting the ground running.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Ryan Ghea, Auburn tight end, hangs out with us on today's show. We're now joined by Ryan Ghea, Auburn tight end. Last time we talked, Ryan, you were just kind of getting settled in here at Auburn. Now, probably about a month or so that you lived here, kind of getting settled in even more. What's Auburn been like? What's life as an Auburn football player been like so far for you?
Oh, it's definitely been great. Obviously, getting here, the transition was easy with all the academic stuff, everything. Like getting in my dorm, getting all ready to go. It was all easy, and then obviously just adjusting with the different type of workouts and classes, and just having a busier schedule. It's been different, but I'm getting adjusted to it. I love it here in Auburn.
Sure. So the main thing you guys are focusing on right now, it's workouts, and how has that adjustment been from? I mean, you play for a pretty competitive high school program, but what's that jump from competitive high school program to SEC football program? What's that like?
Definitely. I know I've adjusted pretty well as of recent. So
okay.
it took me I would say it took me a week of an adjustment period of wow, this is different.
Sure.
It's like the stuff they're doing here, it's targeted. There's no wasted movement. They're not going to make me do anything that isn't going to help me better, get better. They're not going to overwork me as well. So I know everything I'm doing, I'm going to push so I have nothing left, because I know that they're going to let me refuel and then have me get a little rest, and then next day we'll get going again. So it's been good. Obviously, that we run 4 days a week, and then we work out also 4 days a week, and we get our off day on Wednesday.
Got it. When you do these workouts, is it the kind of thing that's like, okay, I know what I'm doing going into it? Or do you learn when you show up for the workout that day, or are you kind of told, whether it's station by station or lift by lift, when do you learn what exactly you're doing?
So it's kind of, we kind of do the same thing every week almost. Okay. So the first 2.5-3 weeks I was here, we would do we didn't know the same. It was the same workouts every single week. We would just get heavier weight every single week. Then last week we switched it into a different type of workout. So now it's more, we're doing more ISO stuff like that. So it's more of building your muscles and just rejuvenating them, also getting in the training room and such. But definitely we know what we're doing going into it. It's just, we're obviously just changing it. We're tweaking the stuff so it's not repetitive over and over and over.
And y'all work out in groups, right? And it almost seems random. You're not just with tight ends, right?
Yeah, it's based off classes, what time you have your classes. So
okay.
Some days I'll work out 9 a.m. and then some weekdays I'll work out 11:30. It just depends on what my class load looks like for then. And then so it's not I'm going from class and I have to make it to workouts in 15 minutes. They'll give me 35-40 minutes. So I have my adjustment period from class to workouts.
That makes sense. Who are you working out with? Who's in your group that's kind of impressed you so far?
Definitely. I've been learning a lot from B. Frage. He's definitely learning a lot from him. And I work out with him, I think, 2 times a week when we're in the same group. So he definitely pushes me, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can from him and just taking all the information in.
I've heard that he's an awesome guy to be around and an outstanding leader. Sounds like you're seeing that pretty early on.
Yes, he's a very great guy. Obviously, I try to take in as much as I can from him, because he's been here for a long time. He's very good at what he does. So I'm just trying to do everything he's doing, basically.
Yeah, him getting that extra year was great news for I think everybody involved. So that's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm sure just sharing the position with him too. That's got to be helpful. Kind of seeing how he approaches things, how he does things, and then he's like, okay, cool. This is what I'm working to be at some point.
Exactly, because we're kind of the same type of tight end. He's taller than I am, and obviously a little bit thicker, but it's kind of cool to seeing learning from how he does the stuff. So I try to do the same thing he does, because obviously he's been here for so long and he's great, obviously, at what he does.
Yeah, that's cool. So as far as the adjustment academically, I mean, you hinted at that a second ago. We talked about this briefly last time you were on, but mean, I assume you're still talking to your buddies that, are, I guess, not D1 athletes and are still in high school and like they're still taking, normal high school classes, and you're over here taking, college classes. I mean, I just can't imagine at that age, like being like ready to make that transition. I mean, I think that last semester is kind of a big thing. So like, how has that been for you?
It's definitely different because, like, in high school, you have the same schedule every day. Like, oh,
right,
you're from like 8 to 3 every day. Here, I have like 2 classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I have 2 classes on Tuesday, and then today is my off day. Like, I don't have any class today. It's just football. But the common thing at home, everybody thinks I'm just here. Oh, I'm just playing football. I have to go to school to the next thing. No, I have classes. I have to study. I have to do the same thing, tutor, strategist, everything. So, and it's just like more of the adjustment is like everyone, they'll call me at night. They're like, "Oh, what are you doing? You're hanging out." I'm like, "No, I'm in bed. I got workouts in the morning. I gotta get going." Like, everyone thinks they out here partying, hanging out. No, I'm getting here to go to work.
That's right. Oh, I love that. I love that. I mean, is that something you and the other guys in this freshman class? I mean, several early enrollees, obviously. I mean, is that something you guys are kind of talking about, and I assume bonding over to some extent?
Yeah, it's definitely just like we always talk about how it's so much different because a bunch of us came from different programs. Like some of us came from like Milton kind of programs, and some of us came from programs that didn't have the stuff that Auburn has, and that they just need to get adjusted to. But everyone's kind of falling into that thing like where we got to figure out we got to go to bed early if we're trying to get the maximum output the next day. So we're all figuring that out.
We continue our conversation with Ryan in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sports book. And right now you can bet $5. And if that first $5 bet hits, you get $150 in bonus bets. Auburn, a 1.5-point favorite. When you look at the futures lines over at FanDuel, 1.5-point favorite against Baylor to open this upcoming season. A lot of you have had lots of opinions on both sides of the argument regarding that game. So if you feel passionate about it, head over to FanDuel.com today to get started. Right now, new customers can bet $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, and of course, the Locked On Podcast Network. And as far as just the relationships with Auburn staffers, I know you guys are working a lot with Coach Dom, right? Is probably who y'all are interacting with the most. I mean, what have you seen from him? I've heard nothing but great things from him as well.
Yeah, nothing but great things. He pushes me to be the best I can. Obviously, he's not just going to baby me. He pushes me till I can't do it anymore. So I'm very grateful for him.
Yeah,
just how he takes us, how he tries to make us be the best we can. Obviously, how he approaches the team. Also, he's not going to be all this like sweet and all this stuff. He's going to push us till we do the best we can.
Yeah, a little tough love ain't going to hurt anybody.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
When outside of working out and all of that, I mean, how much like field stuff are you working on, either as an individual or saying, hey, Deuce or Jackson or whoever, like let's go throw a little bit? Like what does that process look like? Just
Definitely. So obviously we have our workouts in the morning. So we, for the most part, have our afternoons off, I would say. So so I think we usually throw as units. It's usually tight ends, running backs, receivers, with the quarterbacks, usually roughly 2, maybe 3 times a week. So like this week we went Tuesday and we're going to go tonight. So like we have that. And then obviously like individual, like football work, we do steps as tight ends, like just like making sure our inside zone, outside zone steps are good. Because we've obviously been learning from the playbook. So we've kind of been learning from those older guys of how what the steps look like, so we can make sure we're getting it right when we get into spring.
How's it been working with the quarterbacks? I mean, obviously there's a ton of chatter about Jackson Arnold. Obviously there's a ton of excitement about Deuce Knight, who I assume you're pretty close with, being in the same recruiting class. But like, what have you seen being on the receiving end, literally, with both of those guys?
Definitely, they're both very, very, very talented. I can't give them as much praise as they deserve, but they're both really good at what they do. They're both a little bit different. Okay. Obviously, Deuce being a lefty, Jackson being a righty, but it's just the balls come in different. Like obviously coming from high school with a great high school quarterback, but coming in here, it's like there's no drop off. Like obviously everyone raves about how Jackson's doing great. Deuce is doing great. But from what everybody's saying, it seems like they're very excited for how it was compared to last year. So I'm excited too. Obviously, they're both doing great. The balls are coming in on time where they need to be. So very excited about that.
What do you see from a leadership point of view with the quarterbacks? Because I mean, obviously Deuce has been great every step of his career, and we all expect him to be great here. And then Jackson, who has been, as decorated as you can be as a recruit, and then was kind of put in a questionable situation, and obviously he wanted a fresh start, and it seems like he's in a great spot now. From a leadership standpoint and how they carry themselves, what are you seeing from Deuce and from Jackson?
Definitely, they carry themselves at a very high level. Obviously, they know the quarterback, so they gotta take initiative sometimes. So they have us, all the receivers, all the tight ends, in a group chat, and they'll say, "Oh, Thursday we're throwing at 4. Everybody be there." So like some days, like we'll be going hard in the weight room, so like we don't have it all in our legs. So like we'll just do top of the route, like we'll go 1, 2 and get out. So they're still getting their work in, we're still getting ours in. So definitely they initiate a lot of things, which is great. So that's great to see that they're taking the leadership. And I'm very excited to be led by those guys and how they carry themselves.
Ryan, you talked last time we chit-chatted about how you got the playbook and you're starting to get into, learning all those things. An interesting thing about tight end is, I mean, you could line up at a bunch of different places, probably more than any other position. How different is that from what you did at Milton?
Definitely at Milton, I was more like in the box type of guy. I wasn't really flexed out if I was, and everybody knew what I was doing out there. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just gonna go block a screen. Like they knew I was gonna run some type of vertical route. So like here, there's so many different formations, and the way they use the tight end is so unique. Like I'm having to learn obviously multiple many different formations and the different alignments. Because if we're in 12 personnel, I gotta know what the Y is doing and what the H is doing. I can't just know what one of the dudes is doing. So I need to learn both, which is I'm learning it very well, picking it up pretty fast. So I'm very excited for when we get to spring here, we can test out what we're learning.
Yeah. You seem very in tune with the X's and O's of it all. So I'm excited to hear how quickly you pick it up. Ryan, thank you so much for your time, man. Really, really appreciate it as always. And let's do this again soon.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
Thank you so much to Ryan for his time as always. And thank you so much to you for making Locked On Auburn your first or second listen every single day. Please like the video and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And please subscribe and leave a review if you're listening on audio, whether it's iTunes or Spotify, doesn't matter. Helps the show out a ton. Till next time, this has been Locked On Auburn.